Okay, now if that doesn't hush you guys all up, I don't know what will. We're going to get started with Rotary today. We have got the RYLA kids, and everybody knows what the RYLA kids are, don't they? Rotary Youth Leadership Award. First, we're going to hear from Mackenzie Cook, and then Mac Bramall, and then Samantha Lowe. So RYLA is a youth leadership for Rotary, and it's kind of like it's a 3-day conference where they go up to Aspen Grove and they learn about leadership. They have awesome speakers, they have team building exercises. They're going to tell us all about that.
Okay, so like she said, my name's Mackenzie Cook. Both my parents grew up in Spanish Fork, so I'm pretty familiar with the area, but I currently live in Woodland Hills, and I go to Salem Hills High School. I'm a junior. Okay, I got sent a list of questions to answer, so I'm just gonna answer the questions. Sorry, guys. Okay, so one of my favorite things about RYLA was honestly just like the speakers. The speakers were super good. And I loved that they were like, because they gave us schedules and they were like, it had like a 2-hour-long speaker block on here. And I don't know about you guys, but I looked at that and I went, we have to sit in that room for 2 freaking hours. But it was so good. Like the hours flew by. They were super interactive and like very visual, which was super awesome. And they told a lot of stories and just like totally kept us engaged. Which is pretty impressive for a room full of teenagers, but they did amazing. Yeah, they were, I don't even think I have a favorite. They were just all so good. But I did really like, one of them talked about, his name's Brad Barton, and he talked about like planning your race and racing your plan. So just kind of like mapping your life out, like not all the way, but like a 1-year plan and then like a 10-year plan. And he said something that like really like hit me. It was like, you overestimate what you can do in 1 year, but you underestimate what you can do in 10. So it's important to have both so that like your 1 year can kind of bleed into your 10-year and then you can get everything done. A quick funny story. So I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this justice, but just know that it was really funny in the moment. So they have this like playground and they have like a zip line thing with like a seat, and so you like stand on one side and it goes like in a U shape, and so it like rests in the middle. So the boys in my group and another group got together and they were like, they thought it would be really funny if they could see how many people they could fit on that one zip line. So they got like one person sitting down and then they got to the other side. The other person like spider straddled them, if you know what I'm talking about, held onto the rope, and then we just dogpiled boys on top. It was so funny. And the girls were in the middle like pushing them to the other side so that they could get all of them onto the zip line. So that was just, I appreciate the pity laughs. I thought it was really funny in the moment, but it's hard to like do it justice. Anyways, the girls did it after, but to be totally honest, it was way funnier when the boys did it, so. And then after RYLA, I didn't know there was like a Mexico trip, and that sparked my interest. Like I would love to go to Mexico. So I will definitely need to like talk to my parents because I haven't actually done that yet, but that would be so fun, I think. So yeah, with everything that I learned at RYLA, I just like, I want to like go forth and like just have that burning desire to like serve people, you know. So.
Hi, my name is Mac Bramall. I live here in Spanish Fork and I go to Spanish Fork High School. I'm a sophomore, but RYLA has been a very fun opportunity and I'm very thankful for that. There were a lot of fun things that happened. And like Mackenzie said, there were a lot of great speakers. And, you know, both Mackenzie and Samantha are from Salem, and so I was the only kid I knew who was going. And so going there, I was like, okay, for the first day or two, maybe I'm just gonna kind of keep a low profile, kind of just see how things are going. And the first speaker, his name was Larry Chatterton. He calls me up on stage to help him with something. And so I got to go up, and he was telling us about what's called a conversation stack. And this basically, he told us about how your mind remembers images best. And so what he told us is to imagine a triangular nameplate. It can be any design you want, have any name on it. It's just a triangular nameplate. And then on top of that, imagine a house. It's pink with purple polka dots. Now, if you look through the window of that house, you'll see 5 kids playing by a fire, and they're playing with a puppy. Now, in the fire, you see a glove that's raising out of the chimney, and it's holding an airplane with pickleball paddles for wings, hitting a flashing light bulb back and forth. Now, you can wonder why in the world would he tell us this? But each of those things stands for a question that you can use when better getting to know someone. So the nameplate is their name. The house is where they're from. The kids playing by the fire are their siblings and where you place with them. And then the puppy represents pets. The glove represents work, and the airplane represents where they'd like to travel to. The pickleball paddles represent hobbies and interests, and the light, it represents ideas, what they want to be when they grow up, for, in our case, stuff like that. He told us, he demonstrated that, and, you guys can tell, most of us, I'm pretty sure we all remembered it, because I did. Maybe it's just me going up there and being used to show what that means. He also talked about, he trains the BMW employees to better, interact with clients. And he took a picture of one of the clients, and he said, out of context, this picture, you kind of are disappointed because it's this guy who's leaning on his elbow on his desk on his computer. And he says, now this guy, he looks pretty bored, doesn't he? He looks kind of sick of his job. Now let me give you some context. The showroom opens at 9. He's there at 7:30. He got up early, dropped his daughter off early to preschool so he could come in to study the project, or the product. And so Larry Chatterton went and showed this guy the picture, and the guy said to him, I am always on stage. And that's another thing I really liked, because no matter where you are, what you're doing, your posture, how you hold yourself, that's always going to mean something to people. So that was something I really liked. The cabins there were fun for us guys. The girls had it really nice. They were basically in hotel rooms in the middle of the mountains. But us guys were in lodges with bunk rooms and plenty of bugs. That wasn't the worst part though. There's lots of fun stuff. But the guys in my cabin, we all had a pretty special bond. We just, we clicked together pretty quick. And so on the last night, they said you could stay up as late as you want as long as you're in your cabin. So us guys, this one kid, he brought poker chips. And we didn't actually bet with anything, but we took the poker chips and we learned Texas Hold'em. And we just played till 1:30, just chatting and talking, and we had a great time. I'm looking forward to being able to use the things that I've learned from the various speakers and the activities that we had to be able to get to become a better leader in my day-to-day life. So, thank you.
Hey guys, my name is Samantha Lowe. I go to Salem High, and I'm a sophomore. I live in Woodland Hills, like Mackenzie. So Aaron's my dad, and he sent out the list, and he was like, okay, here's some questions you guys can answer, and it's like, tell us what your favorite experience. And I'm thinking through, everything was just so much fun, and I learned so much from all the speakers, like they said. Every speaker had something that stood out to me so much. I think my favorite speaker was Chad Jaimez. He was incredible, and I could go on for hours about what he said, and I took notes upon notes for his stuff, and it was awesome. But one activity that we did, I don't know if you call it an activity, it's called the Culture Walk. And for what I don't know if you guys have heard of it before, but what we did is, so we had one girl, she stood up in the front, and she pretty much asked questions things that you would identify for, your culture, or literally anything. It went from LGBTQ+, it went from religious stuff and suicide and a whole bunch of other stuff, do you identify as someone who has lost someone to suicide or anything like that. And if you could identify with what she said, you had the option, you didn't have to, but you had the option to stand up and go on stage. And it was really cool to see how many people like have anxiety or how many people have depression, and they gave the option to anyone who wanted to go to the microphone and speak upon that, whatever they wanted to. And so I thought it was really cool to see the different perspectives that people have on those topics, and it was cool because you could see the things that you identified with and how many other people did as well. And that was just a really cool and like humbling experience. So a funny experience that I had is, so on the last day we did a relay race between every team, and there was a lot of teams. By the way, mine got second. Yeah, I was pretty proud of that. But anyways, so it was just like a regular relay race that you would do in like PE or whatever in your classes. But so me and my partner that I had for our part of it, we did the three-legged race, and that's where you tie one foot to each other. And so my right foot was tied to her left foot. And so we were running, and we were really fast. And so we were running down to tag the lady in charge of our group. So we went and was running, and we tagged her, and we were going super fast, and we were practicing. And then we go, okay, 1, 2, 3, turn. And so we would jump and turn, so then we could like go really fast. But what happened is we turned, we landed, it was perfect, and then she started with her right foot, and I started with my right foot. And so if our legs were tied together, we tripped and fell, and we face planted, and like we're like holding on to each other so we could like run as fast as we could, so we both just land on our faces, and I got this big grass stain on my pants, but it was really funny, and everyone was watching, and it was great. So that was the funniest experience I think happened to me. And then so what the question is, what will you do with the things that you learned at RYLA? And I think so I took a bunch of notes from the speakers, and I like reading over stuff that I learned so I don't forget it. So, just reading over the things and trying to apply it to my everyday life. Like whether I'm trying to be a leader in my family or the people at school or in my church or whatever, like just trying to be a leader. And also, like Mackenzie said, they told us about the Mexico trip, and that's something that I thought sounded really cool and really fun, is to go to Mexico to serve the people and to build the homes or schools or whatever. And so that's something that I'm hoping I might have an opportunity to do. So, yeah. I've texted them every day since.
Oh.
Yeah. I loved my group, and we became really close throughout the 4 days, and so yeah, I stayed in close contact with them.
My group, we've talked every now and then, but like I said, the guys in my cabin, they made a group chat, and I had to silence it because it's just been going on for
Okay, well, funny story. I got a new phone right before we left, and my group texts don't work. So I have not kept in contact with any of them, but that's not my fault. So I'm sure they've been texting all the time, but personally I haven't because of the unfortunate situation.
With me, though.
Yeah, I did. Kept in contact with these guys. So.
I think so for sure. I know, like personally, I've been to camps in the summer, but one kid said, like, it's just going to be another camp, it's just, you're not going to learn a whole ton. But I definitely did learn a lot more than you would have thought. And it was something that, I will definitely, like, between all the speakers and all the activities and all the people, it's most definitely something that it's changed my outlook.
Yeah, for me, like I said, I really like the speaker Chad Jaimes, and he told us a story. When he was younger, he was trash talking one of the girls in his school, and his dad came and heard, and his dad showed up at school the next day during lunch and made him go and like talk to this girl who I can't remember what she had, but she had some mental disability, or she
had a bunch of physical disabilities and stuff.
And so and he like felt really bad about it, but then he became really close friends with her, and I thought that was really cool. And he said, one of the things that I wrote down in my notebook was, get out of your circle. Like when you're at school or wherever, get out of your circle, because there's so many people that you could meet, and like with the groups that we were put in, like no one had a say of who you're gonna be with. I didn't know anyone in my group, and I thought it was really cool because everyone was so different in my group, but we all became so close. Like I said, we've kept in contact since, and that was, yeah. So I think it's really important that we get out of our circle and just love everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that too. I definitely feel like honestly up there, like I texted my best friend back home and I was like this, like I'm changed, like I'm different. And it was like day one, it was like the first night. And I came back home and my friends are like, wow, like what happened up there? And I'm like, all good things, guys, such great things. But yeah, I like recently in the past couple months, you know, have been thinking about like getting out of my comfort zone, like trying to go meet new people, you know, because I just want to like not like have a bigger influence, but just like have a bigger group of people that I like know and talk to and hang out with and stuff. And so I feel like going up there was like, it was a blessing because I like learned how to like, from like that very first speaker, like learned how to start a conversation, how to get to know people, and then just like how to be more outgoing, I guess. And like I'm pretty social already, but like just taking that next step, I feel like it was so good for me. So.
Well, one thing that I tried to implement more is both going to high school and having learned lots, you know, is you get out what you put into it. And so going into this camp, you know, I didn't really know anyone going. Didn't even know who was giving me a ride. But I just went with the attitude to learn, and that's something that I feel like I did pretty well. Just learned a lot.
Yeah, I think, because I didn't really know Mackenzie.
Yeah, we didn't actually know each other.
'Cause she's a grade older than me. And so I didn't really know her either. And so I think it's good if you go without friends because you're going to make friends. And there was some people who I saw who had friends from their school and they were like close, and they would try and like sneak away from their group to go talk to their friends. But really, like, your groups are your friends. Like, it doesn't, like, everyone's so nice, and everyone's like, there was a few people in my group who at the beginning, like, you could tell were pretty shy and like didn't want to be there, but then by the last day we were all like best friends. So I think it's good if you go. Like, don't be worried if you're not going with a friend, because you're gonna make friends.
Yeah, I agree. I don't like have the experience of going with someone, so like obviously I can't compare the two. But like Samantha said, there were those people that would kind of go hang out with their friends, and then we kind of all look at each other. We go like, where'd that person go? Like, they just disappeared. What happened? So yeah, it was really nice to like. I feel like there's probably pros and cons for both sides, but it was really good for me personally to go by myself. So yeah.
Personally, in my group, the people in my group, Team Brown, we were all pretty similar, but we went around to activities with other groups, and there were some foreign exchange students who were there. And so we did get to meet some of those kids, and we did get to kind of, you know, what with the culture walk and everything else, we did get to know each other a bit better and get to know each other's cultures. So.
Yeah, in my group, I had a girl who's Hispanic, I had an African American, we had, with religion, most of us were Christian. There was one girl who went to a Catholic school, and there was someone else who was part of the LDS church, but then since left. And I think it was cool because during our team talks after we spoke with our teams individually after the big group stuff and just see what we took out of it or whatever. And so I thought it was really cool to see how the different cultures and the different religions had a different intake on the stuff, but really all of us kind of brought out the same stuff at the same time. And you know, as I have been saying, we're all close friends, and that's another thing. It's just like, you can be friends with anyone. It doesn't matter their culture, their religion, or anything. Like, everyone's human.
Yeah, I feel like I always go last, and all I have to say is I agree.
You can go first.
But yeah, like Samantha said, we're all like different, but I thought it was cool that like when it came down to it, like we all kind of had similar opinions on the issues. Like even though we were all like had such different backgrounds. Like we had a girl that was Lutheran, and a lady in our group, one of the like supervisors, had also been part of the LDS church and has like since distanced herself. But it's still cool that like they all were like, I love, specifically on the topic of religion, but they were like, we love like the values that religion teaches. Like we may not agree completely with everything, but we just love like you're all great people, and you like, that's kind of what your church has taught you, I guess. So like, I don't know, I thought it was cool that like when it comes down to it, we usually have pretty similar opinions, even though like our backgrounds are so different. So.
Okay, I'm gonna interject.
Okay.
I gotta come up and join you because I gotta tell this really great story. So I was one of the presenters. Now they didn't ever mention me as being one of the greatest presenters there, but as you know, I'm over youth exchange for our district, and so I was up there presenting on youth exchange to the students, hopefully to excite them about the possibility of becoming exchange students. So I introduced several of our exchange students that had just gone last year, and they told stories about what they had experienced, as well as we had the 2 kids who are here as exchange students right now. So there's one girl from Spain and one girl from the Netherlands here. And so they asked them, what's an embarrassing or funny experience that's happened to you since being in Utah? And the most common stories told about embarrassing experiences on youth exchange is either nudity or alcohol, because these are young kids going out, and it's usually their first exposure to it when kids from Utah go to Europe and other places like that. And that's what most of the kids from Utah talked about, including myself, when I told about when I was an exchange student in Denmark, and my host mother just took her pants off right in front of me and went around walking around in her underwear the rest of the day. So that was exciting, but but this was funny because this was the opposite way. So in this case, it was a student who had come to Utah here, and she went with her host family up to the state capitol building. She's from Spain. She's a quiet little girl. Her name was Ina. And she went up to the state capitol building, and they're wandering around the state capitol, and she's seeing all these depictions of this, let me put it this way. She saw all these statues and paintings and carvings in the doorknobs and everything, and finally she turned to her host mother and said, why does Utah have boobs everywhere? The beehive at the state capitol. She thought that Utah was somehow celebrating breasts by putting breasts all over the state capitol building. So, funny, embarrassing experience, and learning to experience different cultures or misunderstanding different cultures. So I got a kick out of that, to hear how kids misunderstand even our own culture. So that was really fun.
I think the funniest part was watching my dad's face turn bright red whenever someone said, oh yeah, I was offered a drink, and then he was like, oh shoot, they're not supposed to be drinking out there, but then they're like, don't worry, I didn't take it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.